Let's talk about a single coin today that's quietly hiding in plain sight, the 1979 Washington quarter. In the next few minutes, you'll discover why this unassuming piece of clad metal can send seasoned collectors' hearts racing, and why someone might be sitting on a small fortune without even realizing it. Picture yourself gently turning one of these quarters under a bright lamp, hunting for that subtle strike error or unique mint mark. By the end of this segment, you'll know exactly what to look for, why these coins command top dollar at auctions, and how condition can make or break their value. Ready to see what makes 1979 quarters so fascinating? Let's dive in. The story of the 1979 Washington quarter begins in the late 1970s, when the United States Mint was grappling with soaring demand for small change and the rising cost of silver. Unlike earlier quarters, these coins were struck entirely in a copper-nickel-clad composition to conserve resources. In 1976, the Mint had celebrated the bicentennial with special reverses, but by 1979 things had settled back into the Vernon Smith, designed eagle on the reverse, and John Flanagan effigy of George Washington on the obverse. That continuity of design belies a subtle shift in minting processes that produced an unexpectedly rich variety of collectible anomalies. It's this combination of design heritage and minting quirks that makes the 1979 quarter so enthralling to collectors. One of the first things to look for on a 1979 quarter is the mint mark, usually found just above the R in quarter dollar on the reverse. Philadelphia pieces carry no mark, Denver coins bear a small D, and San Francisco proofs display an S. But beyond these basic identifiers lie rare instances of repunched mint marks, where the mint mark was inadvertently struck more than once in slightly different positions, or even misplaced mint marks that stray outside their usual location. Additionally, sharp-eyed collectors hunt for die cracks that spiderweb across Washington's bust or the eagle's wings, and for doubling on inscriptions, especially in letters like E pluribus unum. Spotting these features can elevate a common quarter into an auction-worthy rarity. What makes the 1979 quarter genuinely rare, however, isn't just mint mark hiccups. A small batch of coins from the Denver Mint were struck on experimental planchets, slightly off-spec in thickness and metallic composition, creating subtle weight differences you can only detect on a high-precision scale. Even more intriguing, a handful of Philadelphia quarters exhibit a faint cameo effect, where the raised design elements glisten like frosted silver against a mirror-like field. Occasionally, you'll encounter a proof-like specimen struck on business strike dies, producing a hybrid look collectors call PFDB, proof die business strike. These are anomalies that most pocket change diggers won't notice, yet when authenticated by grading services, they can fetch multiples of face value. It's the intersection of standard mintage and unplanned errors that gives these coins their edge. Digging deeper, you'll find examples showing lamination flaws, tiny areas where the outer layer of copper-nickel-clad peels slightly, revealing a flash of red copper beneath. While serious lamination damage can hurt value, minor spots can be downright charming if they don't interfere with the coin's eye appeal. Similarly, weak strikes from worn dies sometimes leave the hair detail on Washington's portrait soft or patchy. In most series, that's a negative, but among specialists, these offbeat strikes can be prized for their visual uniqueness, especially in mint state grades. In the auction world, pristine examples of the 1979 quarter can command attention. A Denver D specimen graded MS 67 by PCGS recently soared past $1,200 under the hammer, thanks to its razor-sharp luster and complete absence of contact marks. Even more astonishing was a San Francisco proof S in PR 69 cameo, which achieved $950 only a month later, buoyed by intense bidding from specialist collectors. Circulated pieces, graded between -55 Australian dollars and MS 63, tend to settle in the $3 to $15 range. But once you cross the MS 65 threshold on a clad Washington quarter, prices jump sharply, often into the three-figure zone for Denver and Philadelphia strikes. Auction records clearly show that condition and eye appeal are king. Behind these numbers lie stories that give each coin character. One passionate dealer recalls purchasing a beat-up bag of Denver quarters at a county fair for face value, later discovering 3 MS 66 D pieces among them, each now valued at over $700. Another collector stumbled upon a lone Philadelphia quarter at a supermarket coin roll hunt. It bore a faint, off-center strike that earned it a hidden gem designation and a sale price of $1,500. Enthusiasts swapped tales of scouring laundry machines, parking meters, and even arcades, all in the hope of unearthing that one special 1979 quarter that turns a run-of-the-mill collection into something extraordinary. When it comes to condition-based value, the difference between mint state and circulated examples couldn't be starker. A quarter that's seen heavy pocket wear, soft details on Washington's hair, and a dulled eagle will rarely break past $10, even with a clear mint mark. In lightly circulated grades, say VF 30 to -50 Australian dollars, you're looking at a sweet spot where faint luster remains, and those sell for $10 to $25 apiece. Once you enter the mint state arena, MS 60 to MS 63 coins typically climb from $30 to $75, depending on eye appeal. But coins graded MS 64 and above regularly nudge into $150 to $300 territory. Proofs are a separate league, where PR 68 and PR 69 examples settle around $500 to $1,000, driven by that cameo contrast. One aspect often overlooked is packaging provenance. Original mint sets containing 1979 quarters, especially USPS proof sets marketed to collectors, can add a 10 to 15% premium over loose coins. A factory-fresh, untouched set still sealed in its cellophane wrapper signals originality that dealers prize. Conversely, improperly cleaned coins, even if they show high grade, can suffer steep value penalties. Always resist the urge to scrub grime with baking soda or harsh chemicals. Leave grading-sensitive surfaces alone and let a professional hold determine cleaning needs. Looking ahead, market trends suggest demand for key-date-clad quarters will stay robust. As silver issues become prohibitive for new collectors, these late 70s clad pieces serve as an accessible alternative. Annual convention reports show collector interest plateauing around MS 66 and MS 67 tiers, meaning truly top-pop examples will command ever higher bids. Whether you're hunting rolls from circulation banks or seeking auction bargains, the 1979 quarter remains a cornerstone of any Washington series collection. Now that we've uncovered the hidden depths of the 1979 Washington quarter, the stories it tells, the anomalies that elevate it, and the dramatic swings in value based on condition, it's clear why even seasoned collectors keep these coins on their radar. Up next, we'll turn our attention to a different era's gem, the 1996 quarter, where mint errors and state-specific designs collide in surprising ways. Stick around, you won't want to miss what that quarter has in store. Shifting gears from our exploration of the 1972 quarter, let's turn to the 1994 Washington quarter, a date that might seem unremarkable at first glance, but hides a fascinating world of minting quirks and collector fervor. While the mid-1990s are often remembered for the launch of the 50-state quarters program, the plain-date 1994 quarters quietly slipped under the radar, yet yield surprises just as thrilling as their more celebrated successors. Back in early 1994, the Philadelphia and Denver mints were still producing the classic George Washington profile, designed by John Flanagan, and collectors were already anticipating the upcoming state series. With national mintage figures hovering around $500 million for Philadelphia and $421 million for Denver, these coins flooded circulation. But nestled among this mountain of quarters are a handful of rare varieties that savvy numismatists couldn't resist chasing down. One of the most coveted is the 1994 D small date variety, which features noticeably narrower numerals in the date compared to the more common wide date issue. That tiny difference came down to a switch in die stamps mid-production, an innocent operational change that today translates into a premium for eagle-eyed collectors. Under magnification, you'll spot the small date's slimmer 1, compact 9, and subtly compressed 4 and 9 sitting tighter against the rim. Meanwhile, the wide date boasts broader numerals with more space between each character. Though both varieties share identical exterior designs, that shift in typography makes all the difference. In high grades, a small date specimen graded MS65 by NGC or PCGS can fetch upwards of $250, while a comparable wide date might go for less than $40. At MS67, small dates have crossed $1,000 at auction, reflecting their relative scarcity, especially in mint state. Beyond date size, error hunters prize the 1994 proof quarter from San Francisco, which occasionally surfaces with the infamous speared eagle defect. On these proofs, the eagle's breast appears to bear a thin, raised line piercing through the feathers, the result of dye polishing lines or a crack that imprinted on the dye surface. That faint stroke turns a standard PR69 specimen into a PR69 speared eagle, and dealers routinely add a hefty markup when it's confirmed. A clean proof quarter in PR70 might command $125, but add the speared eagle marker and you're looking at $300 or more, depending on eye appeal. Market values for business strikes in average circulated condition remain modest, roughly 50 cents to 75 cents each. Yet when an example escapes wear and lands in mint state, prices climb steeply. Philadelphia MS63 coins typically trade at $30 to $35, while Denver MS63s go for $25 to $30. Jump to MS65, and Philadelphia quarters can approach $75, with Denver examples in the $60 to $70 range. The very top grades, MS67, are scarce enough that a PCGS MS67 1994 D-wide date recently hammered for $900, a testament to the dye varieties' desirability among competitive collectors. The story of how these varieties were first identified is almost as captivating as the coins themselves. In the late 1990s, a Florida collector named Marty Sanders started noticing date discrepancies under his loupe, prompting him to publish an article in a regional numismatic newsletter. His detailed dye measurements and side-by-side photos ignited a flurry of interest, and by 2002, grading services had added separate catalog numbers for the small and wide date types. That grassroots detective work illustrates the thrill of numismatics, how one sharp observer can redefine the market for millions of coins. Even ordinary errors like off-center strikes and double strikes show up on 1994 quarters, though they're far less common than date varieties. When a coin strikes off-center by just a few percent, you might see a crescent of blank planchet showing under the rim. Collectors prize those for aesthetic appeal, and values for off-center quarters start around $50 for 1 to 2 mm shifts, soaring into the hundreds for more extreme misalignments. Meanwhile, double strike examples, where the coin receives a second, slightly skewed impression, often bring $75 to $150, depending on clarity and centering. Auction records reinforce the importance of condition and rarity. In March 2025, a PCGS MS67 1994 P small date quarter achieved $1,020, thanks to razor-sharp devices and full mint luster. That same month, a PR70 DCM Deep Cameo proof with the speared eagle defect sold for $340, reflecting both flawless preservation and the allure of a named error. These results show that even in a decade overshadowed by special programs, collectors remain passionate about uncovering hidden gems in everyday change. It's also worth noting the impact of third-party grading on market values. Before PCGS and NGC began slabbing 1994 quarters en masse, price guides undervalued small-date specimens. Today, a coin's pedigree, whether it hails from a sugar-sweet registry set or boasts provenance from a famous collection, can add 10 to 20% to the hammer price. That provenance premium means coins traced back to early discoverers like Marty Sanders or featured in major exhibitions carry an extra layer of prestige. Even as you handle a well-worn 1994 quarter with flattened edges and faint details, it's hard not to feel a spark of excitement. A mid-grade VF30 example might still pique interest if it displays unexpected die cracks or faint doubling on the obverse. Every flaw tells a story of the minting process. The force of the press, the condition of the dies, the human hands guiding each blank into place. These subtle traces are what whisper authenticity and connect us to the everyday workers who kept our coinage rolling in the pre-digital age. For seasoned collectors, The 1994 quarter represents a bridge between classic Flanagan designs and the explosion of modern commemorative issues. It's a reminder that no year is too ordinary to yield extraordinary finds, and that patient observation can uncover mintage secrets hidden in plain sight. Whether you're hunting for the slim numerals of the small date, the telltale line of a speared eagle, or the thrill of an off-center strike, this humble 25-cent piece offers more than pocket change. It's a challenge, a mystery, and an invitation to explore the mint's hidden stories. As you slide that 1994 Washington quarter under your loupe and adjust the light, look for the narrow date, the faint breast line, or the hint of misalignment. Each discovery brings you a step closer to a rare treasure and adds another chapter to your personal collecting saga. After all, the magic of numismatics lies not just in the value stamped on a coin, but in the detective work, the camaraderie, and the thrill of revealing what lies just beneath the surface. Moving on from the twists of 1994, our journey brings us to the 1996 Washington quarter, a date that quietly bridges classic Flanagan designs and the upcoming wave of commemorative issues. At first glance, the 1996 quarter might seem like any other in your pocket, but look closer and you'll find a world of minting intrigue just waiting to be uncovered. Underneath its familiar profile lies a rich backstory of die production, subtle design tweaks, and production anomalies that have made this year a hidden gem for collectors. In the mid-1990s, the United States Mint was preparing for the historic 50-state quarters program, yet 1996 remained dedicated to the timeless tribute to our first president. Philadelphia and Denver struck well over $500 million business-issue quarters each, while San Francisco produced a relatively modest proof run. The Mint's press lines worked around the clock to satisfy public demand, leaving room for the occasional stray misstep. These routine production pressures set the stage for a handful of rare die varieties, most notably the famed FS 101 and FS 102 proof issues, as well as a handful of business strike double dies that snuck past quality control. The hallmark of 1996-era proofs is the deep cameo finish achieved at San Francisco. Under standard lighting, the frosted devices pop against the mirror-like fields, but seasoned eyes will hunt for FS 101's faint die crack arching through Washington's cheek or FS 102's tiny fissure crossing the eagle's body on the reverse. Both varieties arrived from polishing laps or minute fractures on the die head. Neither was intended, yet each has become a prized anomaly. On the business strike side, a rare Philly double die obverse displays faint ghosting on Liberty and In God We Trust, though the doubling is subtle enough that it demands a magnifier and a trained focus. Any slip like that in a year without major mintmark shifts earns immediate attention. When it comes to pricing these rarities, condition and attribution reign supreme. A PCGS PF69 Deep Cameo FS 102 proof quarter with razor-sharp contrast recently achieved $450 at a small regional sale, while a flawless PF70 DCM example crossed $600, thanks to both absolute perfection and that faint crack assigning it to FS 102. Business strikes graded MS65 by NGC or PCGS, free of any wear and with full luster, trade in the $80 to $100 range for common examples. However, a documented double die obverse in MS65 can leap to $300 to $350. Higher mint states, MS67 or above, are exceptionally scarce on business strikes. A PCGS MS67 plus 1996 D brought $900 last year, driven by collectors chasing every possible Flanagan-era variant before the state program began. Beyond value charts and price caps, there are stories that breathe life into these metallic discs. A notable incident in 2010 involved a Virginia hobby shop owner who discovered a handful of FS 101 proofs tucked inside a customer's hoard of standard rolls. Word spread, and collectors swarmed local shops hunting through wraps of quarters, only to find that most stores had already peeled away their proof rolls for display. Another tale revolves around a young dealer who, in a rookie mistake, listed a heavily worn die crack proof simply as near PR69 on an online auction. Bidders pounced, convinced of an unseen cameo finish, and the seller walked away with an extra $200 before the error was publicly dissected in forum posts. These narratives underscore an important lesson. Context and presentation matter as much as the die work itself. A correctly labeled FS 102 proof in a crisp, clear slab will command more than an identical coin described ambiguously. Provenance also plays a role. Coins once owned by prominent collectors or showcased in national exhibitions often carry a 10 to 15% premium over raw examples with no pedigree. As the hobby evolves, documented pedigrees and registry set listings have become a significant part of the collecting equation, sometimes eclipsing pure rarity. Condition-based value shifts for 1996 quarters emphasize how quickly wear erodes premium. A business strike Washington quarter in good, G4, condition hovers at face value plus a nickel or dime premium. In fine, F12, details on Washington's hair and the eagle's tail feathers start to clarify, nudging the coin into the $1 to $2 range. By extremely fine, F40, with rim hairlines intact and only light friction on high points, you might pay $3 to $4. Once a piece enters mint state, MS60 through MS63, it becomes eligible for collector premiums, often fetching $10 to $20. From MS64 to MS65, the jump is dramatic, with prices rocketing into the $40 to $80 bracket. Above that, MS66 and MS67 coins are near mythic, and each incremental grade earns exponential value increases. Even common condition proofs tell stories of mint humidity and handling. A PR60 example may show slight frosting wear and micro hairlines from gentle handling, trading around $15 to $20. Stepping up to PR65 might double that, while PR67, PR68 coins, still showing minimal hairlines and excellent cameo contrast, demand $100 to $150. Those seeking the ultimate prize look for PR70 DCM slabs, where mirror fields reflect luxuries like a smooth countertop and frosted rims stand out like miniature museum pieces. There is a special thrill that comes with turning a 1996 quarter under a loop and spotting mileage on a die or a hint of unplanned doubling. Each subtle variation reminds us of the human element in coining. Dies cut by craftsmen, inspections performed under fluorescence, blanks fed by workers on a bustling factory floor. In that way, the 1996 Washington quarter holds a mirror to the mint itself, showing us where precision met the everyday chaos of mass production. For the collector aged 40 or 50 plus who grew up hoarding change in jars, these quarters are not just currency, but markers of personal history and the promise of discovery. So before you spend or roll your next batch of 1996 quarters, pause for a moment under bright light. Look for the FS 101 crack arching behind Washington's ear, the ghost echo doubling on the obverse letters, or the gleaming deep cameo fields backing up a frosted portrait. That tiny quarter may hold the surprise of a lifetime, and a story that adds fresh sparkle to a familiar face. Collectors aged 40, 50, or beyond know the joy of sifting through change jars, searching for that glint of silver-toned brilliance. It's not just about high auction numbers or registry points. It's the thrill of discovery, the connection to past generations of mint workers, and the knowledge that a tiny mistake can become a prized rarity. Whether you're eyeing an MS67 Specamon or a softly worn circulation piece with a subtle flaw, each quarter invites you to pause, look closer, and appreciate the hidden narratives stamped in metal. Keep a loop within reach and a curious mind ready. The next time you accept a handful of quarters, resist the urge to spend them all at once. One of those unremarkable coins might just be the bridge between history and your collection's next chapter.